Without a doubt, the ET5 is the most important model for NIO right now. It's the one with the lowest average sales price, therefore addressing the largest market, and it's the latest model. So what do we know about the state of current production? Well, we know that NIO was impacted by COVID restrictions in Hefei. Both factories were down for some time, and we've seen the impacts on the delivery numbers, which weren't that great. Meanwhile, as covered on this channel, the restrictions in Hefei have been reduced, although there are still some measures in place, and I would expect that it's still having some implications on supply, on getting cars out and so on. So there might be quarantine restrictions, tests and things that are slowing stuff down. However, the situation is already better, and for example today also Hefei announced that people should go on and have their marriage banquets and go on, as this is very important. We see relaxations all over China in some certain instances. So while this might be a slow progress of getting rid of zero COVID, things are happening. Also very good to see those pictures of President Biden meeting with President Xi. No Zoom call is replacing a personal connection, and when people sitting down and talk face to face, they can get things done and overcome some of the issues between those two countries. So I was happy to see this. I think China should continue to open up, and I hope the US would start tuning down their fear-mongering and containment strategies. Anyways, back to EVs and the numbers, and here you see the second week for November and the license plate registrations. Basically, NIO comes in more than 3,000, a little bit higher than last week, but still possibly catching up with the factories back online and some of those lags of getting the cars out there, in line with Li Auto, Xpeng, I don't know what's happening there. And then Tesla, that is actually really nice. Tesla showing, well, just a slight increase here as well, but that's actually a nice number here, pointing towards a strong November and December for Tesla. I think that they're now already focusing back on mainland, despite sending record numbers of exports overseas. So for me, it doesn't look like this Tesla China demand issue is a real narrative that turns out to be true. And instead, I'm hoping we're rather looking at a strong quarter here by Tesla. Maybe those fears about what's happening to Tesla in China will ease a little bit after those numbers. Now, what I would like to show you is the question, how is the ET5 doing currently? And I got this number here, the VIN number, so the vehicle identification number of 4,711 of a NIO owners group. So they are tracking which kind of cars have already been produced and what numbers they are given. And it seems like this number has already been in production. So that is pointing us to the fact that NIO during November has already produced 3,460 ET5, because in September they just started, produced 221, in October more than 1,000, and if they now produce the number 4,711, that leaves them with this gap to fill somehow in between. Now please mind, these are unverified speculations. I have it from a source that I trust and where it's kind of credible. However, that doesn't mean that these cars have already also been delivered. This is talking about production, and these are efforts by NIO fans, NIO users who are tracking their production numbers of the cars that they ordered. Now, what does it tell us about the ET5 production ramp? Well, it seems like in September they produced 11 cars per day on a work-adjusted basis for the 21 workdays, and in total they delivered 221 vehicles. In October they delivered nearly 1,000 during 18 workdays, which brings us roughly to 60 ET5s produced per day. Now, during November, of course, they haven't utilized 22 business days yet, rather 9, because that's the days that November was open already. And if they have produced those 4,000 vehicles, that would bring us to a average daily production of more than 380. And if we would assume that this is the average number for November to be expected, this would bring us actually to a total production of 8,458 cars, just doing this simple exercise here. Now, it doesn't mean that NIO will be able to deliver 8,400 ET5 in November. Now, that's unlikely, because after production, of course, those cars need to be sent from Hefei to their destinations and picked up, and then there might be a local lockdown somewhere where the cars are being picked up. And also, we don't know if Hefei has an easy export option right now, given the restrictions that are still in place. So there might be some lacking indicators, but this is just a peak, at the production and the production rate, if it's correct, based on this VIN number that I've obtained and whether or not this information is true. So my point of view, that would be actually already a very high number. It would point to a rather quick expansion of their production for the ET5 there. So I'm not entirely sure whether or not this can actually be the case. I guess we see the first indication for the next week license plates and the week 4, which should show something that would point us to an increase in ET5 deliveries if that's the case. And if that's the case, this would put higher odds at fulfilling their actual targets for Q4 in total. However, I want to point out that this is just speculation. I don't know whether or not these numbers are accurate. These are just calculations and examples that I'm making based on the numbers that I'm getting, and I'm hoping that they are good to predict the future. Let's see. We'll check back in a couple of weeks whether or not this has been accurate. So that's it for now. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.